Okay. I still can't believe that I didn't end up one of Epstein's girls giving Slick Willie an HJ. Dark jokes are my coping mechanism. Look, we're not here to be serious news people. We're just here to make fun of the world. I'm Bridget PHETASY, and this is your dumpster fire for the weeks of December 15th, 2023 to January 5th, 2024. Happy New Year, everybody!
And the unicorns dance while the world burns, world burns.
It's an election year, and you know what that means. Everyone's going to lose their minds. We are 5 days into the new year, and y'all need to pace yourselves. Some of you have gone crazy, and it's not even the end of the first week in January. Pace yourself. Stay hydrated. Make sure you're taking your crazy pills.
Gone crazy right out of the gates. You can't go crazy right out of the gates.
Never go full crazy in the first week of January. It's not a good sign.
There's nowhere to go from there.
No. Life is absurd. Don't take yourself so damn seriously.
Troll-In-Exile. Colorado and Maine have kicked Trump off the 2024 ballots.
Oh, like I said, it's only gonna get crazier. And here we are. In Colorado, they kicked him off the primary.
I think in Maine, too, I was reading.
It's in both places?
Yeah, I think so.
One of them was actually, they used the Supreme Court. In Maine, I believe it was just the Secretary of State who decided that he couldn't be on the ballot. See what happens in Colorado when you legalize mushrooms? You just get some crazy shit. Like people being like, you know what, man? What if we just like kick Trump off the ballot?
Did you ever see the back of a $20 bill on weed?
I think things are going to get crazy. Walter Kern, our dear friend of Walk-Ins Welcome, had a great tweet today where he said the Supreme Court must be getting irritated with all of the states coming to them to resolve their election disputes about Donald Trump, like kids who are constantly going to their dad to resolve their board game disputes.
I want a new one. Now!
There's literally no one on earth who has more name recognition than Donald Trump. You are just going to have people writing him in. But what would be hilarious is if, because no one knows how to write anymore and handwriting is atrocious, some random lovely man named Darnell Tramp, a black conservative man who owns a shoe store in Louisiana, becomes president of the United States and ends up being the most amazing president we ever had.
And in conclusion, read my lips.
I see a screenplay in our future. We should have ChatGPT write it.
Totally.
Write us a screenplay about a shoe salesman named Darnell Tramp who accidentally becomes president. It would be so funny, too, because the left would lose their minds because he's a black conservative, and the right would lose their minds because he's black. Just kidding.
And he's not Donald Trump, who they were intending.
He's not Donald Trump. I'm just kidding. It was a hacky joke. It was right there.
It was right there.
It was right there. I mean,
some of them would.
There's some truth to that. A kernel of truth. Just a kernel. That's all I have to say about that.
That's all I have to say about that.
Join us at PHETASY.com for the unedited version of this dumpster fire. You get to see it early. It launches days before the edited version goes out on YouTube. You also get a sweet-ass community of dope people. We have a book club. We have Write Club. We're doing all kinds of things to keep people connected and creative. That is my goal in 2024. Stay focused on creating and not online wasting your time destroying whatever. We do workouts for the ladies so you can keep that fat ass tight.
For all the ass men at home.
For all those ass men you have at home.
Got to watch the unedited version to get that joke.
Most importantly, if you're here on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Touch my bells and buttons. Tell your friends about us. And press all those buttons that make the algorithm think we're
kind of a big deal.
Saddest little YouTube channel in the whole YouTube universe.
What is happening? Tucker Carlson made a weird video with Kevin Spacey.
This was so weird.
Is there anyone in this country of 350 million people who could jump in at this late date and re-scramble the calculus of electoral politics? Well, there may be someone, and in fact, you already know him. You know his face. And the question is, will he get in this cycle? And that's my question for you.
Well, that's really a decision for the people, Tucker. It's not something that I really think about or want to do. And Merry Christmas to you, too.
I don't even understand what's going on in this. And at some point in the video, Spacey says, we need to get the adults back in the room.
I think we could both agree that we need to get some adults back in the room. So if that means taking on the chief executive role, well, that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make for this great nation.
We need to get the adults back in the room, which implies there are only children in the room, which means you're offering to be the only adult in a room full of children, Kevin Spacey?
Hey, phrasing!
Not sure that's the message you want to be sending. Something tells me you should have thought that one through. It's very meta and weird, and I hate when Tucker acts. He's not an actor. Just for people who don't understand what's going on in this video. Anyways, he had Kevin Spacey on to play Underwood, the role that he played in House of Cards on Netflix before he was canceled. So he has him on as Underwood in this weird, like, why can't we have a third party? And now we have this guy. And it's very meta. And he even goes on later in the video to address the Kevin Spacey allegations.
So it is bizarre that they decided to publicly cut ties with me on allegations alone, allegations that have now been proven false, because I don't think there's any question. Netflix exists because of me.
It is bizarro world and weird, and I just don't. Tucker Carlson is like the director's cut of pundits. It's like you watch him now and you realize producers have a role.
Fair.
Tucker is what I would be without censored China Maggie. Just an unhinged, quite confusing lunatic.
The truth is, I love nothing better on this day than to do a line of blow.
He's saying whatever he wants to say and doing whatever he wants to do. Clearly, he was reined in. This is like when they made the director's cut of Amadeus and it sucked.
Yeah.
No one wants that. No one wants this, Tucker. What is this weird shit? It turns out the adults in the room are Fox News. Tucker Carlson went crazy after Fox News, and he didn't even need a chalkboard. It would have been so much better if he had had Terry Crews from Idiocracy.
I give you my word. He's gonna be comedy.
Yes, for sure.
Why? Why do this? This is so weird. And why do you keep interviewing people who have like allegations of sex trafficking and pedophilia, Tucker? And why is nobody calling that out? All of the global elite conspiracy people, which we'll get to that. It's a real thing. I said that like it was a joke, but it's actually true. There is a global elite of people who like to be pedophiles together.
Coming up on Dumpster Fire.
Oh, boy.
Then we have Blackstone released a Christmas video.
It's the alternatives era. Build with Blackstone.
Did everyone lose their minds over Christmas who had a lot of money and could produce things and they produced a bunch of garbage? Like, this is what happens when you're both wealthy and cheap.
Get our brands, you can tell. Our superpower is our skin.
This was someone's vision.
Stay calm, stay positive, never give up. Never give up. We don't give up.
I didn't even want to cover this, but it's so weird. This video of all these, none of them are stars. It's literally like
people who work at Blackstone.
Helping build wealth and security, a name you can trust.
They didn't even hire actors. They just had people who work at Blackstone be in this video. This is why Jeffrey Epstein actually killed himself.
It's the alternatives era.
This is what the 1% thinks the working class is really like or really appreciates. This is what our sensibilities are.
We lead in private equity. It's true.
They stole the Spirit Halloween jingle.
This is the theme for Spirit Halloween. Grandma wet and can't stop screaming.
Big shout out to crazy hot sauce making Dave Yates for pointing that out. They have $1 trillion.
Now $1 trillion under management. That's a lot.
I was outraged. I'm like, you have trillions of dollars. You know what I could do with $1 trillion for this show? It would be amazing.
With $1 trillion, Bridget could fix the world.
I couldn't fix the world, but my dumpster fires would be epic. We would have such cool, all the things that I envisioned, the graphics, it would be amazing. We would have, I'd be able to patch Sam in and do some QAnon interviews.
She'd have hologram versions of people who died so she could come back and interview them.
It would be insane. It would be true dumpster fire. There would be a dumpster fire holographic behind me all the time, burning.
I don't think we need $1 trillion to do any of that.
But this is what they did, and they have more money. And then they have to point out that it's not the other creepy company, global corporation that's devouring all of the middle class and assets in the world.
Not to be confused with BlackRock.
Live in pods, eat bugs, and own nothing. We have increased the wealth disparity. Not to be confused with that other company that rapes and pillages America. And also small villages in the Middle East. That's the subtext to their jingle. They had the series of people with the ribbons, and this was someone's vision, and they're like, Kathy has long COVID, guys. Let her have her ribbon dancers. Let her do it. Let her have this. This is what happens when Pedo Island gets closed. The elites start thinking they're creatives.
Bringing us to Epstein didn't kill himself. Epstein court documents have been unsealed, revealing a list of over 150 names of people involved in his affairs.
Say what you want about this guy, but he lived his best life right up until that moment that he hung himself.
You're dark, Raj. I don't care.
That's a dark joke.
Here's the reason that somebody online was like, I can't believe people are making jokes about this. Do you know what these people did? Yeah, the whole world knows what they did. And no one has even been arrested for it other than Ghislaine Maxwell. And no one's going to ever pay a price because it was global leaders. No one will be punished. How else are we supposed to cope with this knowledge other than to make fun of it? It is the darkest of dark shit. It's horrific what they did to these girls on that island. I'm not trying to undermine that at all. Pedo Island is the dark stain in the world history that we are living through. And literally everyone tries to sweep it under the rug. It's crazy. They're like the Catholic priests of our time. It's bananas. And was there only one plane? I don't understand why. Why did they all need to take Pedo Island plane? Lolita Express. Why was it like a badge of honor? Did you have to take it so he could, record you to use it against you? Is that part of the deal? Like, look, we'll get you the girls, but we've got to have some shit on you to blackmail you with. Why were there such good records? There were all those phone records too, the messages, like handwritten phone messages. Why were you keeping this? Seems like very organized attention to detail for a situation that should not have had so many excellent records. But say what you want, the world has really come undone since the elites and global world leaders couldn't get together and be pedos.
It's true. Couldn't get together and make their nefarious plans on Pedo Island.
The world has really come undone since the elites couldn't gather and be pedos together. I still can't believe that I didn't end up one of Epstein's girls giving Slick Willie an HJ. Honestly, if I had been in Florida, I probably would have.
Yeah.
Because I had all the, like a little bit lost, didn't have very much parental supervision, got into kind of drugs in the wrong crowd early, was always around scummy rich dudes.
Yeah. Yeah, you could have very easily.
I thought I hit rock bottom, but apparently I didn't hit rock bottom hard enough. I could have been on Pedo Island. I mean, it is like you hear that And you're like, this is so dark. And Bill Clinton's still giving talks. These people were going to this island after this guy was already arrested for like an accidental HJ that he got when he was having a massage. It is insane. This shit isn't. There was literally an island where the world leaders gathered to have sex with underage girls. And everyone's like, well, you know, just because they're on the list doesn't mean that it was actually what they were doing there. Like, what? Okay. I'm sure they were just there for the snorkeling.
Chickens come home to roost. Claudine Gay finally resigned as the head of Harvard over charges of racism and plagiarism.
This feels like such an elite discourse to me. For people who aren't paying attention to what's happening at Harvard, which is most of us just trying to make ends meet, I don't think the waitress is paying attention to this. This feels a lot of people who are throwing around the word elites in the media. They're like, oh, the elites over there at Harvard. I'm like, you're an elite too. Who do you think is paying attention to this? Only people in the media and elites, not the guy working on the road, not the person building your house, not the person who's serving you your coffee at your diner. There feels like it's a very class disparity in this. The most hilarious thing is the way the media covers it. And if you are someone who barely pays attention, you would think that Claudine Gay was fired because she was black, which is in fact not true. She was fired from her role as president. She still has a job, by the way, that she gets paid $900,000 a year for.
I'm rich, bitch!
Imagine hearing this story and you're like, oh, this poor woman got fired because she was black. That's what you would think if you read the headlines. You guys have completely undermined your profession, journalists. Nobody trusts you anymore, and this is why. Just because the other guy, the people on the other team found out that she was a plagiarist, now you have to defend plagiarism and act like this is some weapon conservatives are using. You're doing such harm to your profession, and not to mention undergraduates who now read this and think it's okay to just lift some coffee. The word salad that they use in these headlines to try and justify this is insane, but nothing was more insane than the AP, who came out and said, conservatives have a new weapon in the culture war, plagiarism. Like, what? It's so bad. She's making $1 million a year. She's not even being fired. She's just being demoted. It is so crazy to me that this is how it's being spun by the mainstream media. And the sad thing is, people don't have time to watch stupid, not news shows like Dumpster Fire. And they don't have time to dig into the story. So they'll see it and be like, well, conservatives are racist. They got that poor black lady fired. You're like, no, she got herself fired. She's a plagiarist. It's so messed up. She looks like Spike Lee, and that's not racist. That's just true.
Get wrecked, China. Xi Jinping rings in 2024 with a rare admission that China's economy is in trouble.
See what happens when you shut down Pedo Island? Even China takes a hit. I mean, we've been for years saying get wrecked, China, and now China is kind of getting wrecked. And it turns out it's not great for us either. See what happens when you give Xi champagne? He starts spilling all the commie secrets. They're in trouble.
Yeah. It's not
China's
good.
economy collapsing, Pedo Island closing. Coincidence?
I've stumbled onto a major company conspiracy, Mac. How about that for stress?
So f***ed up.
I know. I don't know why those jokes just kill me, but they do.
Because it's the only way of coping with something this dark and in your face.
Uh-huh.
The only way of coping with this kind of blatant, disgusting... I feel dirty just covering this story. I feel dirty learning about it. It doesn't even matter. It literally doesn't matter. Every dirtbag in the world was on that island. And Everyone knew. You're telling me they didn't know what was going on there? Everyone knew. You weren't like going, especially after he'd already been convicted. Come on. I also read some statistic that like, because the women in China are now saying they don't want to have babies either. They're like, F you, we're not doing this. And they killed all the baby girls, so they already have a problem. And their population by 2100 is supposed to be like 500 million. And it's 1.4 if it keeps up on this trajectory.
Jesus.
Yeah. That's what happens when you kill all the babies. Baby girls. That's what happens when you put baby girls in the dumpster fire.
You're being reincarnated as a Chinese baby right now. Girl.
Dark jokes are my coping mechanism. This episode is brought to you by sheathunderwear.com. Thank you, Sheath Underwear, for being the underwear my husband trusts with his family jewels. Because Sheath has developed the dual pouch system that cradles and separates the family jewels from the legs, and it keeps the genitalia separate with a little pouch for that too. Everything's got a compartment. You stay supported. The moisture wicking fabric is fantastic and comfortable. You don't have to think about readjusting all day. You can do all of the things you want to do and not be having the, big old balls you got jangling around. They also have a women's line, modal fabric, a new line of mesh. They've got a new underwear line that I'm obsessed with. It's all very comfortable and supportive sports bras. Just fantastic quality. Support the people who support us. Go to sheathunderwear.com. Use the code DUMPSTER to get 20% off your entire order. This is a great deal. Start the new year off right. Give yourself something you deserve, which is comfy undies. sheathunderwear.com. Link is in the description below. Let's take a minute to thank CrowdHealth. Health insurance sucks. It's confusing, expensive, and frustrating. There is a better way. Welcome to the alternative. An alternative I wish existed when I was a freelance writer and a waitress. CrowdHealth was created to get rid of the headaches of health insurance. For $175 for an individual or $575 for a family of 4 or more, you'll get access to a community of people who are willing to help out in the event of an emergency. If this had existed when I was in that position, it would have been so much better and something I could have actually afforded, paid into, and then if I had needed it, there would have been this sweet community of people that could have helped me out with whatever those bills were. You'll also get telemedicine visits, discounted prescriptions, and more. All this without doctors' networks getting in the way. The reason I love CrowdHealth is because it's somebody who sees the problems with the healthcare system and is trying to think outside the box and do something about it. Let CrowdHealth help you with your healthcare needs. You can get started today for just $99 per month for the first 3 months if you use the code Bridget to get the healthcare you deserve. CrowdHealth is not insurance. Learn more at joincrowdhealth.com. That's joincrowdhealth.com, code Bridget. Now let's check the weather with Nail Lopez.
Para las cumbres en San Bernabé, los 22 grados en el Obispado, para Escobedo, también los 21 en San Nicolás, en Apodaca, 19 grados en Guadalupe.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, touch my bells and buttons, and do all the things.
Patriarchy So Crafty. U.S. boxing to allow transgender women to compete against female boxers under certain conditions.
Patriarchy So Crafty, they figured out a way they can beat women again, and they turned it into a sport. The only conditions are they have to wear a wife beater. Do you think a guy would cut his dick off so he could beat a woman? I'm glad they at least made conditions. They did make it conditional upon completing your gender reassignment surgeries.
And taking hormones for 4 years.
And taking hormones for 4 years. That is a commitment to woman beating.
Do you think a man would cut his off to beat a woman? A question for the ages.
Tell Maggie in the comments. Look, we're not here to be serious news people. We're just here to make fun of the world.
We're talking about cutting your dick off. Dumpster diving.
What's next in the 2024 dumpster?
An ecosexual falls in love with an oak tree.
This happened during the pandemic, of course. This is what happens when you lock people up. They lose their minds and fall in love with trees. This is some dendrophilia or whatever. Imagine being the guy who you were with her before she broke up with you and became a tree lover. This is worse than losing your girl to a lesbian.
Yes.
This is what happens when you age out of Pedo Island. We just went from people who chop their dicks off to beat women to a woman who wants to f trees.
This is not a news show.
This is what the manosphere means when they say feminism was a mistake. Guys, has Viagra stopped working? Is this what is why this woman was forced to turn to trees for her wood?
Wood.
Breaking Bridget. Pro-Palestine protesters blocked traffic to JFK, LAX, and Chicago O'Hare airports right before Christmas.
Don't you know Americans don't give a shit about what's going on in the Middle East unless you fly a plane into the World Trade Center? You think you're going to get Americans to care about what's happening in Palestine by blocking traffic to the airport on the holidays? You're only going to make them hate Palestine even more. They're going to become turn it into a parking lot people overnight. All they want to do is get their fat ass to the airport so that they can schlep around in their pajamas and eat some frickin' Annie's pretzels while they wait to be squeezed into a tube where they have to fight for the seat and fight for the armrest and get to their next destination where their family members are going to tell them that they're a bunch of MAGA-loving conspiracy theorists and they're written out of the will, and then they've got to schlep around and spend money they don't have and eat some calories they can't afford to eat, get back on a plane and go back to whatever shithole they're paying $7,000 a month for in New York City. Okay? This is all the people want to do. And you are preventing them from doing it. I was personally affected by this as I was flying with my sad little coach butt on the day that they were blocking the traffic to LAX, and I had to pay attention to what these freaking losers were doing on their holiday to mess up. Also, how is this not a federal offense? How can you just block traffic to the airports, the major international airports? I thought we learned our lesson about terrorism in planes. I thought this was like a protected space. The airspace around it. You can't fly a drone around these places. You can't block traffic. These people should all get mandatory sentences and be thrown in jail for a little while. This should not be allowed. What if there's an emergency? What if what happened in Japan happened in the United States at one of these airports and there's a collision and then you need to get emergency vehicles there and you can't because there's 7 people who have lost their mission since they burned down a bunch of stores during the BLM riots to block the freaking roads into the airport. This is ridiculous. I mean, it is like outrageous to me that this is even allowed. Maybe I'm an old lady or something, but this seems like it should be frowned upon. Didn't they like unironically go sit in front of the freaking World Trade Center over the holidays too?
Oh, God.
Guys. How is it that like 20 MAGA people gathering for a protest against the vaccine mandates are like on an FBI watch list and moms opposing critical race theory and none of these people are? This is domestic terrorism. Get these pro-Hamas supporters in prison where they belong. They should all get one-way tickets to Gaza. You don't like it here? Go to Gaza. You're trying to get Americans to give a shit about Palestine by making them sit in traffic? You are a moron. We're going to make them uncomfortable. Yeah, making people uncomfortable, that's traditionally a great way to get them on board with whatever it is you believe. I'm sure they're going to love you for that. We need to make them uncomfortable and teach them that there's a genocide happening. How many genocides has America not given a shit about? Not saying it's a genocide, but, you know. Jokes are jokes, people. I mean, that's all I have to say about that.
That's all I have to say about that.
PHETASY News.
Get your merch at BridgetPhetasy.com. If you are a member of Phetasy.com, you get a 20% discount on said merch. We have awesome merch, guys. I don't promote it enough because I'm a horrible businesswoman and mostly just a creative trying to get by. But our merch is awesome. We have mugs. We have sweatshirts everywhere. I was told by my cool Gen Z nephew that the kids love his camp dumpster fire hoodie, which I'm sure I just ruined by even saying that. Now it's dorky and annoying. We also have designs for all of our other brands. If you're confused about what we do, we have a cool new video that tells you all about our projects. And go to Phetasy.com. You can sign up, become a member and a supporter of the Phetasy cause, which is basically just trying to stay sane while the world burns, in a nutshell. Thank you to all the people who make this show possible. Dave Yates, Better Phetasy, Ben Howe, and Sammy Flaps and Folds. We can't do this without them. Please go support Dave Yates and buy his hot sauce at hahahotsauce.com. Also, thank you, Cousin Maggie.
Thank you, Bridget.
It was a fun one back.
It was.
Dark and fucked up.
Just the way we like it.
Just like we like them. Thank you to our sponsors, Sheath Underwear, our Ride or Die, and CrowdHealth. Please go check out these people. Support the people who support us. And now to cleanse your palate, the internet is glorious.
Damn it. Oh, fucking damn it. Oh, fucking damn it.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I was born with the ability to solve geopolitical issues even though I'm not able to solve any of the problems in my own life. Solve the Middle East, Ukraine, Russia, inflation, unemployment, all without being able to keep a job myself or a relationship or keep a pet without having it die. Solving geopolitics is actually easy. What's hard is getting to my coffee shop gig on time, and now my boss won't give me any shifts. I mean, the whole Palestine-Israel thing took me about half hour to solve Thursday morning, which is good that it didn't take long because I had a pretty hectic day.
We made it! We made it to 2024. Be grateful so long as you have breath. All of the world is absurd. We are here to laugh at it. Don't take yourself or life too seriously. It is fleeting on this rock in space. Have some fun. Create. Build, laugh, hug, dance, have sex, all the things. Welcome to 2024. We will be your spirit guides through the dumpster fire. This has been your dumpster fire for the weeks of December 15th to January 5th. I'm Bridget Phetasy. Now make me rich! I'm already rich in spirit, but we want to get some sweet holograms.